All right, so today we're going to be diving deep
This
into,
would be fun.
yeah, this will be a good one, moving scams.
Oof.
Moving is stressful enough, right?
Yeah.
But imagine getting to your new place
Huh.
and realizing you've been completely taken advantage of.
Oh, it's the worst.
We've got a ton of research for this one. Articles,
Mm-hmm.
news reports,
Oh, wow.
even some court cases.
Yeah.
We're going to break down exactly how these scams work
Okay.
so you can spot them and protect yourself.
I think one of the most interesting things about moving scams
Yeah,
is how they really just prey on the chaos of moving.
totally.
I mean, you're juggling so many things.
Right.
Deadlines are
You
looming,
just want to get it done.
and they just slip in when you're not looking.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter if you're moving a studio apartment or a mansion.
Right.
It can happen to anyone.
Absolutely. These scams target everyone.
Okay. All right, so let's get into some of the specifics here.
Okay.
Our research mentions this low estimate scam.
Mm-hmm.
Is that as simple as it sounds?
You know, it might seem pretty obvious,
Yeah.
but it's really effective.
Really?
Oh, yeah. They lure you in with a quote that's so low
Okay.
that it seems impossible to say no to.
Right.
But then once they've loaded all your stuff,
Yeah.
suddenly there are all these extra charges,
Mm-hmm.
heavy items or long carry.
Oh, God.
It's all about creating that sense of urgency.
Oh, I see.
So you just pay up,
So they just totally make up these fees?
pretty much.
Would you call their bluff?
I mean, you could try,
Yeah.
but they're masters of manipulation.
Right.
They know you're on a tight schedule,
Mhm.
and nobody wants to get into a standoff.
Especially when all your belongings are in their truck.
Exactly.
Oh, man, speaking of which,
Oh, yeah.
what about the hostage cargo scam?
Oh,
This sounds like something out of a movie,
it really does.
like a thriller or something.
Unfortunately, it's a lot more common than you think.
Really?
Oh, yeah. So picture this. You're at your new place. You're exhausted, but ready to start unpacking.
Yeah.
And the movers say, hold on. You owe us more money
What?
before we unload anything.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, they might say there were unforeseen circumstances,
Okay.
extra weight, or even just makeup damages.
And they can really get away with that.
Well, they exploit these legal gray areas.
Oh, wow.
And a lot of times they demand cash.
Oh, so there's no paper trail.
Exactly.
Gosh. So
Again.
I guess documentation is key.
It really is.
Before you book, get everything in writing.
Yes.
Make sure it's itemized and detailed.
Mm-hmm.
And never sign a blank contract.
Absolutely not.
Okay, a detailed contract. Got it.
Hmm.
What other tactics should we be on the lookout for?
Let's see. Well, there's the weight manipulation scam.
Okay.
Once they load up all your stuff,
Uh,
they claim it's heavier than they initially estimated
okay.
and jack up the price.
So you have no way to verify the weight.
Exactly.
So they're banking on you just paying
Pretty much.
just to avoid further delay. That's infuriating. So it's just a he said, she said situation.
Yeah.
But your entire life's possessions are on the line.
Right?
Is there anything you can do to protect yourself?
Well,
Besides just taking their word for it.
this is where online reviews are so crucial.
Okay.
Don't just look at the star rating.
Okay.
Dig a little deeper.
I see.
Look for patterns in the complaints.
Okay.
Multiple reviews mentioning weight discrepancies or surprise charges.
Yeah.
Huge red flag.
It's so easy to just go with those glowing 5-star reviews, so you really have to read between the lines.
It's like detective work.
I like that.
Exactly.
No, it's not enough to just rely on their website.
There-
You really have to do your own digging.
You do.
And this might be obvious,
Yeah.
but you have to make sure the company is properly licensed and insured.
Absolutely.
That's non-negotiable.
Yeah, you can usually verify that on the FMCSA website
Okay.
for interstate moves.
So licenses, insurance, references, and a healthy dose of skepticism. When you're reading those online reviews,
Right.
it sounds like we're building quite the arsenal here.
Yeah.
But what about the companies that just vanish into thin air?
Oh, the ghost movers.
Yeah, that's a little spooky.
They might have a flashy website, seemingly positive reviews,
Okay.
but it's all fake.
Really?
They take your deposit, sometimes even load your stuff,
Oh, God.
and disappear completely.
That's scary. So how can you tell if it's a legit company?
Hmm.
Besides checking licenses and insurance?
Well, one trick is to do a reverse image search
Okay.
of any photos on their website.
All right.
Are they stock images?
Yeah.
Or taken from another company's site?
Right.
Red flag.
Okay.
Also check their address on Google Maps.
Yeah.
Does it go to an actual office building?
All right.
Or just some random house?
That's a good point.
Definitely be wary of that.
It's amazing how these scammers can really create these elaborate facades.
I know, it's wild.
So you really have to approach this whole process with a healthy dose of suspicion.
You really do.
Don't be afraid to ask tough questions
Mm-hmm.
and really demand detailed answers.
Yeah,
It's like that saying, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is.
exactly.
But for your entire move, they
Yeah.
really thrive on taking advantage of people who just want an easy move.
They do.
But a little vigilance can go a long way.
Absolutely.
So I guess moving scams aren't about falling for some obvious trick. It's
Right.
more about understanding the psychology behind them.
Yeah, you're more likely to fall victim when you're stressed and vulnerable.
Absolutely. And they know that.
Yeah, and that's why we're doing this deep dive.
Right.
To give you the knowledge to recognize those tactics.
So you can make an informed decision.
Exactly.
So we've talked about some of the big scams, the ones
Mhm.
that are kind of in your face.
Uh,
But what about the more subtle stuff?
yeah.
The things that you might not even realize are happening.
The sneaky stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Like damaged or lost goods.
Okay.
I mean, sometimes accidents happen, right?
Oh, for sure.
Even with legitimate companies.
It happens.
But some of these shady movers use this to their advantage.
Oh, well, yeah.
So they're hoping you don't have enough insurance
That's one way to look at it.
to cover the damage.
Yep.
Or they'll intentionally damage things,
Oh.
knowing you can't prove it was them.
Like maybe drop a box
Uh-huh.
or pack things improperly.
So they break in transit.
Yeah. It's really...
That's so messed up. It's easy to just assume the best.
Especially when you're stressed.
Yeah, exactly.
But it really highlights why documentation is so important.
Okay, so take photos of your valuables before you pack and make a detailed inventory.
Yeah.
So if something goes missing or gets damaged,
You've got proof.
right, proof of its condition.
Exactly.
And what about insurance?
Yeah.
Because our sources mention that this is another area
Oh, yeah.
where scammers can really take advantage.
Absolutely. They might offer insurance.
Okay.
That sounds really comprehensive.
Right.
But the fine print is full of loopholes. So even if you think you're covered,
Yeah.
you might not be.
So it's not enough to just have insurance. You
Ah.
really have to read the policy carefully.
Definitely. Look at the deductible,
Okay.
the coverage limits,
Mhm.
and what kind of damages are covered.
And if something's not clear,
Ask questions?
yeah, don't be afraid to ask for clarification.
Exactly. A reputable company will be upfront about that stuff.
So insurance is a minefield.
Pretty much.
What other tricks do these scammers use?
Okay, well, let's talk about additional fees.
Oh, yeah.
This one's a classic.
So everything seems fine.
Mm-hmm.
You have your contract. You think you're all good.
Right.
And then bam, all of these extra charges.
That you never agreed to.
What kind of charges are we talking about here?
Oh, it could be anything.
Really?
Stairs,
Okay.
long walks to the truck,
I
packing materials,
know.
even a fuel surcharge.
Seriously.
They get creative.
It's like death by 1,000 paper cuts.
It really is.
So it goes back to that fine print.
And making sure everything is clearly laid out in that contract.
Don't rush.
Ugh.
Read every single clause.
Yeah.
And don't be afraid to push back
Yeah.
if something doesn't seem right.
What if they say it's standard practice?
You have the power.
Oh.
If they're not being transparent,
Yeah.
walk away.
Find another mover.
Exactly.
Okay, so be assertive,
Mm-hmm.
know your rights,
Yes.
and stand your ground.
Absolutely.
All right. Now let's talk about something that really freaks me out.
Okay.
Unlicensed and uninsured movers.
Oh, boy.
That's just asking for trouble.
It is.
It's like playing Russian roulette with your belongings.
That's a great way to put it.
No insurance.
Mip.
No recourse if your stuff disappears.
It's a disaster waiting to happen.
Isn't that illegal, though?
It is.
So why are these companies even allowed to operate?
Well, there are always going to be people who try to skirt the rules.
Right.
They prey on people who are looking for the cheapest option.
So how can you tell if a company is legit?
I mean, besides checking for licenses and insurance.
Pay attention to their communication.
Okay.
Are they vague about their services?
Yeah.
Or their pricing?
Mm-hmm.
Do they avoid giving you a straight answer?
That's a good point.
Yeah, that could be a sign they're hiding something.
And what about online reviews?
Those could be helpful.
Okay.
Look for reviews mentioning unprofessional behavior,
Okay.
lack of equipment,
Mm-hmm.
or cash-only payments.
So it's a combination of things.
Yeah.
Gut instinct,
Uh-huh.
thorough research, and knowing the right questions to ask.
Exactly.
Okay, now let's talk about storage scams,
Okay.
because those seem especially bad since you're trusting them with your stuff for a longer period of time.
You're entrusting them with your entire life.
Right. It's not just a quick move.
And the thought of them just disappearing
Oh, God.
or selling your belongings.
They can just sell your stuff.
Sometimes.
That's got to be illegal, right?
It depends on the contract, which is why you have to read that storage agreement carefully.
So it's the same as with the moving contracts.
Yep.
Don't rush, read everything, Ask questions.
Absolutely.
But what about storage-specific red flags?
Well, good security measures are essential.
Okay.
Security cameras, gated access,
Right.
on-site staff.
So you know someone's keeping an eye on things.
Exactly.
What about reviews for storage facilities?
Oh, yeah, those are just as important.
Okay.
Look for anything about pests,
Uh-huh.
leaks,
Oh,
or
well.
security breaches.
So those are signs to stay away.
Definitely.
Is there anything else to look out for?
Keep an eye out for bait-and-switch pricing.
Oh, that's a good one.
They lure you in with a low price
Right.
and then jack it up a few months later.
So make sure you understand those terms,
Yeah.
including any price increase provisions.
Exactly.
Man, we've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
Damaged goods, hidden fees, unlicensed movers, storage scams.
It's a lot to think about.
Yeah, and moving is already stressful enough,
Right.
but knowledge is power.
It is.
So just understanding these tactics can really help protect you.
It can. And don't be afraid to be proactive.
Okay, so ask the right questions.
Mm-hmm.
Demand transparency.
Yes.
And trust your gut
Absolutely.
if something feels off.
Walk away.
Yeah, don't be pressured into anything.
Your peace of mind is worth it.
So we've talked about all these scams,
We have.
but what happens if you actually become a victim?
Yeah, that's a good question.
What are your options then?
Well, it's easy to feel helpless
Right.
or embarrassed.
Yeah, you don't want to admit you got tricked.
Exactly.
But there are things you can do.
Well, for sure.
So what's the first step?
Documentation.
Right. Okay. So gather any evidence you can.
Mhm.
Contracts, emails, receipts, pictures.
Yes.
Anything that supports your claim.
Even if the transaction was in cash.
Okay. So create a paper trail no matter what.
Exactly.
And then what?
Well, if it involved a breach of contract, a threat, or theft,
Okay.
file a police report.
So there's an official record.
Right.
And that can help with insurance claims too.
It can.
Speaking of which,
Yeah.
what about insurance?
If you have moving insurance.
Oh.
Or homeowners. Or renter's insurance. File a claim right away.
And make sure you have all that documentation ready.
Absolutely.
So insurance can help.
It definitely can.
And that sounds like it's not always easy.
Yeah. Sometimes you have to be persistent.
And what if insurance doesn't cover everything?
Well, you might want to contact consumer protection agencies.
Like the Better Business Bureau
Yes.
or the Federal Trade Commission.
Exactly.
And what about legal action?
That depends
Okay.
on how much money is involved
Right?
and the details of the scam.
But it's an option.
It could be. You might want to talk to a lawyer.
Who specializes in this kind of stuff.
Exactly.
So there are things you can do,
There are.
but it still seems like prevention is the best strategy.
Oh, absolutely.
Dealing with a scam is just so stressful.
On top of everything else.
Right, moving is already stressful enough.
There really is. So be vigilant. Do your research.
Ask those tough questions.
Mm-hmm. And trust your instincts.
This deep dive has been eye-opening.
Yeah. It's a lot to take in.
It's made me realize how important it is to be an informed consumer.
It's not about being paranoid.
Right.
It's about being prepared.
So do your research, advocate for yourself,
Yes.
and don't be afraid to say no.
To a bad deal.
Right. You don't have to put up with shady business practices.
Exactly.
So moving doesn't have to be a nightmare.
It doesn't.
You can protect yourself from these scams.
With a little knowledge and some careful planning.
So stay vigilant out there.
Absolutely.
And remember,
What's that?
you're not alone.
Yeah, there are resources available
Yeah. Don't hesitate to reach out for help.
if you need it.
That's all for today's deep dive.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
Stay curious and stay informed.